Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Today is another interesting day for us to discuss about clinical and cultural adaptation to the United States. But today we're going to be centered on nurse migration mentorship. How to mentor people or what we can do for some of our nurses that are coming from different parts of the country, maybe BU in any part of Africa, we are here to, provide a solution that we've thought of and sacrificially decided to go on a very, very long journey with you guys. Long journey in the sense that we want to have a deeper interaction. We want to have, kind of a medium to be able to solve a much more bigger problem that is looming to the nursing community that is migrating abroad. So I am not going to go deep into the conversation now, but before we start, I just want to welcome everyone. I see a lot of people has joined in already, and some people are still in the waiting room, but I just want to say welcome to everyone today. I hope we are all doing well. I hope everybody is doing well. So today we have a very interesting person in our midst. She's been in our program before. She dissected the topic that we gave to her on that day, and she was able to provide insight to a lot of people that had confusion in the operating room in the United States. So I think that kind of settled the issue of questions that we've been receiving concerning the mode of operation of operating room in the United States. So, but today we are here on a different capacity. So we are here in the capacity of nurse mentorship. So ever since we started this clinical adaptation program, there has been a lot of questions rolling in from different segments and sectors of the nursing community. People have been coming in with their questions and asking lots of questions. So we decided in order for us to make this worth it, we are going to be, bringing out a kind of a compendium of all the questions that are being asked, and also bringing a kind of lecture on those questions so that it is a general issue that we're handling, so that it's not like we're answering one person and tomorrow the same another person comes to ask the same question again. So when we make this, we make it available for people and they'll be able to kind of listen and have insight to whatever that they are confused about. And then I just want to give us a little background of why we are doing this. Before we proceed, I just want to welcome our guest. Our guest, her name is Stephanie. Stephanie Decency, you're welcome to the program. How are you doing today? You can unmute. I think you're muted. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on your time zone. It's good to be in your midst. I'm doing well, Mr. Decency. How about you?
I'm doing
Um,
okay.
Thank you for
All right.
having me in today. Yeah, good to be in your midst again.
Thank you so much for joining in. And like as I said before, you were muted. I have been, trying to discuss with them and tell them the reason for the why it is necessary for us to have the nurse migration mentorship program in our community. So there's been a lot of questions, right? Since we started this clinical migration program, there's been, you know, drones of questions coming from different areas. And then I think me and you have been doing a great job in answering some of the questions. But sometimes some of those questions are already coming at a very costly stage that people have already made a mistake. So I recently we had an international nurse that came into the United States, bought a car. The first time she's she ran out of gas. The first time she wanted to pump gas into her car, she went and pumped diesel instead of gas and drove the car off like 2 miles, and the car stopped moving. Okay. And that's a very big issue because even the insurance, you're going to have a very big issue with insurance. And then your premium is going to go up like a lot. Premium is like that's why I said there's need for this mentorship because some of this word has to really make sense for you from back home. When we talk about insurance, we talk about co-pay, we talk about premium, we talk about deductibles. All those words are things that we need to come and break down so that everybody can understand it, everybody can start getting used to it. When you come to the United States, it will not be a big issue for you again. So, like I said, something as simple as pumping a gas into your car can be very, very, very costly because that girl had to go to a mechanic and they gave her a bill. She sent it to the insurance. Insurance was able to pay, but her premium went up very, very much. You understand? So, and then she didn't use her car for about 2 weeks when the car was being worked on. You understand? So she has to go back to using Uber to go to work. It can be very, very frustrating when some of these things happen. So, Steph D, I know that there's been several other issues that, been occurring in the United States. And I don't know if you can just, kind of give us a little insight to the reason why this nurse mentorship is very, very important. Because I know if this has to start, like I told her that if it has to happen, it has to be her. I would just be chiming in from time to time, but she has already gone ahead to develop more than 20 topics from all the questions that we have received so far. So she's gone ahead to develop about 20 topics of things that needs to be discussed. But we don't want to use the time that we have every Friday to be discussing it. So we want to create another platform so that we can, really get into some of these issues and discuss them very well. There's a lot of questions that needs to be answered. Someone was asking the other day about, there's a lot like insurance, terminologies of insurance. She wasn't understanding any. And then when you come to the United States, one thing you will notice is that there are a lot of fine prints. Like when you're given a contract to sign, most of the contracts, how many of you, let me ask you a question here. Some of you that have written NCLEX and passed and gotten an agency, how many of you read all your contracts? Like you read your contract and understood everything. You didn't just read how much am I going to be paid. If you know you read your contract and understood everything in your contract, on the comment section, just let me know. I want to see, I want to see that if you read your contract that was sent to you by your agency or your hospital and you understood everything in that contract, can you just signify in the comment section? No one read everything. Nobody. I can't believe it. Rams, no one read their contract and understood everything. So Maya is saying I had to get a lawyer, which is very good because sometimes you may not really understand everything that your contract is saying. You understand? So you have to get a lawyer, and then getting a lawyer, you have to pay that lawyer to do that. So that's one of the reasons why this mentorship is also very important. We can actually, bring out a contract and dissect it, tell you everything about it, so that when you see some of these contracts, you'll be able to kind of say what they mean to you financially, what they mean to you, going forward, terms of benefits and, retirement benefits, everything you can think about. You just kind of know where to go from there. So, Steph, do you have some of the things that you already, written down or things that you've prepared? Just a snapshot of some of them, like to give us what we're going to be, discussing in this nurse mentorship program.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Decency. So yeah, a lot of nurses from EPG usually come to my page to ask questions about one thing or the other. Life in America, is somebody can come ask you the same question, the next person come ask the same question again. Sometimes it might feel tiring, but we've decided to come together and bring all these topics together so that we can, for those that are close to coming into America, or those that have their visa or interview dates or case complete, come together and learn these topics together. Something as simple as knowing how the weather in America is, how to prepare, for each weather or each season, winter, summer, spring, and fall. Something as simple as obeying school bus. I know that I've had a lot of people have that issue, not knowing when to stop when they see a school bus. And this is not $100 they will bring or $50 bill. You'll be fined as much as $250 just for blocking a school bus, depending on how grievous the offense is. Some you might end up going to court and all that. Also, banking, the kind of banking account you need to have, pumping gas, like he said. I know a lot of people made that error when they came into America and they don't know the right one to pump, whether it's diesel or gas. Gas is fuel here. We call it fuel in Nigeria. Here is gas. All right. Also, as simple as American etiquette and communication. Our method of communication is not the same way they communicate over there. There are some things you can't tell someone during your communication with them. You have to learn to avoid, certain use of words. Also, something as driving. The other one I mentioned was like school bus, as little as driving. Yes, you drive in your various countries, but here there are rules. We might be in the same junction at the same time. Who came to that junction first should be the first to leave. You might be like, oh, the road is clear, let me enter. No, there are certain things you need to learn. This is a country where everything works according to rule and orderliness. So you must have to learn those things. So these are some topics that, I am developing a PowerPoint, and I feel it's better that all these people come together so they can learn all these things instead of answering one person at a time, and it's going to help them to adjust so fast. Your community where you are finding a home, the crime zone of that place, how to search to know the crime rate of the area, so that you make sure that your family. I know somebody that came. Even though we live in Virginia, for instance, there are some areas as well in Virginia that you cannot live. Crime zones are different in certain areas. A guy that relocated to Virginia was discussing with Buzzy the other day and said a lady how the husband was harassed in a park, in a public park by a guy. So, and they reported to a police. A police was like, this is not a good place for you to start as a person that just came into America, because the police asked them, they said they just moved into America. The guy said, no, this is not a good place for you to start. If you can find a house in another area or another city, that will be fine. When you know everything about your environment, you can easily know where to live and where not live. But for now, the policeman advised them to move. So currently, Buzz is helping them. I don't know if they have found another place or they are still working on moving.
I still
Yeah, so
searching.
these are as little as it is, safety concerns. You should know your environment. There are a lot more that I'm developing. So I feel it's okay, you guys coming together. You have somebody that hold your hands and walk you through how life in America is. You don't have to make mistakes that others made for you to learn. As little as putting in diesel in your car can cost you a lot and increase your insurance at the same time. Instead of paying like 150 $200 insurance for your car, you can be paying like 300 because you are a risk. You become a kind of risky driver at that time. They'll see, oh, this person has the potential of even hitting someone or this. There's a way they rate all these things. So you really have to know. I have a video presentation to show you how to pump gas, you know, the ones to avoid, the ones to choose, and all that. There are lots lectures that I'm developing, and hopefully we'll start very soon. All right, that's just it, Mr. Decency.
So much for that. And then, talking about safety in the US, I know a lot of people here have thought about that. When you are planning to migrate to the United States, one of the things that is always a concern is gun violence. Because here, almost everybody has a gun. And then you have to prepare your mind, because sometimes in some cities, if you go to some cities, especially in states where they have open carry is like a law that says people can actually carry gun that can be visible for others to see. You understand? So if you are in a state that has open carry, then you are likely going to go to the mall and you see somebody that has a gun in his waist. You understand? Sometimes the first time that we came to, I think was it Illinois or some, we went to Illinois. I was the first experience I had. I went into just to pump gas. I was not able to pay in the gas station. I wanted to go inside and pay at the cashier. And then I noticed that somebody there was having a gun. I didn't know if the person was robbing the store or whether I should run back or whether I should stay, all those kind of feeling. These are things that you really need to know. Someone is asking what are the states that has open carry and those that don't have. These are some of the things we are going to learn in those mentorship programs so that you understand which states have open carry, which states does not have. But whether you will see gun in the United States, for sure you will see it. You're going to be in a place where even in the store,
In the malls.
you go to Walmart, you will see there is a section in Walmart that sells gun. You understand? There is a section in Walmart. Walmart is like a place. It's like you went to regular markets in your home country. You're going to find a place where gun is sold. And when you come into the United States, once you have your green card and you have your driver's license, guess what? You can also get a gun. You understand? There's a lot that we have to discuss. And then crime rate is depending on, areas, they are different. So some places, based on the occurrences of like, crime in those areas, and those crimes are reported to the police. So the police begins to take statistics of different area and they are able to say in this very, very location, 1,000 crime has been committed in the past 1 year. You understand? And then in another location they can have like maybe two crime or five crimes or so that's how they know areas that have a high crime rate or not. Like the lady that Steph was talking about, the husband was just taking a walk, and what pained me in that situation is that the husband is disabled. Like the husband has one bad leg, so he's limping. So if it was something that people had to run, he can't even run. So the guy that came to harass him knew that he had a bad leg. He was just taking a walk in the park, but where they were living was, it was in a very, very dangerous area. And this happens because people don't ask questions. People are not mentored when they come into the United States. Because if you are mentored before you even pay for an apartment, one of the things that you should do is to look for those crime rates in that area so that if you'll be able to live here. Even if you are going to live in a place that have high crime zone, you will know when to go out and when to come in, and at least you know how you move out and how you move. At least you'll be expectant that anything can happen, not something taking you unawares. Like you don't even know that this is existing and it happens to you. You understand? So these are some of the major topics that you're going to be having. It's going to be very, very interactive. It's going to have more, you're going to have more time allotted to it. We're not going to be in a rush. Steph, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask in case anybody here has anything they want us to discuss, you can put it in the chat box. I can also take notes of that topic, but I have some already that I've written down and I'm working on currently. So if you know you're here, you can hear me, you have more topics of concern that you want us to address or treat on one of the days, feel free. I will have time to go over that with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, so I know questions like, is there a state that is safe? Is the state I'm going to save? Well, we're not going to be able to provide you, any evidence or any answer here. But in that meeting, in the mentorship program, we're going to go into the website, not just me saying it. We're going to go into the website together and we'll show you how you can look up some of these states. There is a website that you can use, and you look up the states, and you also see the crime rates in those states, and you can see what kind of crime is prevalent. There are states where you go to, you find out that the crime that is prevalent there may be things like child abuse, or there's all this petty crime. But there are places here you will ask about, or go to, you find out that the crime there is crimes like gun violence, people are being robbed, suicide, homicide, and the rest of them. There's a lot that we're going to go through, but when we get there, we'll all do it together. You can mention your state, the state you're going to, the city you're going to live, and we can search it together and find out how safe the place is, so that you prepare your mind on the place that you're going to. And then also we're going to talk about finances, okay? We're going to talk a lot about finances, because one of the things that people forget to do when they come to the United States is savings. Once we come here, most people, they take everything that they get in the United States. I know most of you have this mindset that once you come, every single dollar you made, you are going to convert it back to CD, you convert it back to Kenyan shilling, you convert it back to your home country currency, naira, and then you send it back home. You understand? And then, God forbid, if something happens to you tomorrow, nobody from back home is going to send money to dollar to be able to help you here. That is a reality. In fact, some of you may say it's a lie that some people will be able to, help. But fine, when I'm not praying that it happens, but it has actually happened to a lot of people. We have had to contribute money to bury some spouses of some of our colleagues that are here in the United States, and they wanted to carry their corpses back home, but they couldn't afford it. People from back home couldn't even pay for it. But guess what? Those people back home will be making order. We don't want anybody to bury our brother in the US, so you must bring him back so that we can bury him. And then when we all contributed money, we contributed money to send that person. They are not going to be able to send money back up here, because if you're talking about sending money here, you should know how rich you are for you to be able to send money that is meaningful in the United States. Not that you cannot send $100, $200, but what will you do with that in the face of very critical issues? You cannot do anything with $100. You're talking about thousands of dollars that will be needed at that point. Okay, so we're going to talk more about how you can save, very, very profitable investments that you can do when you come here, and also how you can plan your kids' future. Because a lot of people also forget that they have children, and they go ahead and they train a lot of their siblings. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do, train people's children for them. I'm not saying you shouldn't help. I'm not. Charity is one of my other name. I do charity every now and then. I do a very big charity in December, but that doesn't mean every time in the academy. People that know me know that charity is one of the things that I love doing. But also at the back of my mind, I know that I have kids. I know that I have family, I have a wife. So we should be able to think of ourselves. We should be able to think of how to save for our children as well. Sorry, Steph, you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
All right, so that is some of the things that we're going to go into as well. We're going to be able to discuss things that will help us to save for our kids, things that will help us to save for our children. And in the United States, the school system is another thing. School is free in the United States up to high school. Yes, college. College is when you start paying, but high school is free. So that is for you if you're going to a public school. You understand? Some people come in here and they decide that public school is not for them, that they prefer, private school. There are still private schools in the United States where you have to pay school fees and they have more amenities. But guess what? There are public schools that are up to the level of some private school, but they are in a very good. So that those are the things that we need to bring to you so that you understand it. You understand? Because if you understand this system, you can actually cheat some system through some of the loopholes that are already existing in the system. That is not illegal. You understand? You can be in a neighborhood that has a very good public school. You know, the whites, they like to live together. So sometimes they come to a neighborhood, they build their own public school, and that doesn't mean that you, as a black, cannot live there, because there is a fair housing law that prevents people from discriminating about against race or anybody. So you can't tell me that I can't live. So far I can afford it, I can live anywhere. But those areas are high end. So they make their houses there maybe expensive, you know, but what they are trying to do is just to be able to kind of cut down on the classes of people that can live in that neighborhood. But guess what? Once you're able to live in some of those neighborhoods, you'll be able to avoid paying for private school, because those schools that are in those neighborhoods are far more, you know, in far more greater than even a private school. You understand? They are more equipped. Government sponsors it more, and the people from the community also contribute money to sponsor those schools. Okay, so there's a lot that is, you know, going to be happening in those coaching program. And to tell you the truth, this coaching program is not going to be easy for me and Steph, because we have a lot in our hand already. Steph is doing nurse practitioner program. She's already rounding up. She's going to be graduating very soon. And me, my hand is very, very full. And she's also a manager, like I told you guys before, but she's going to be bringing out one day in a week for us to be doing an extensive coaching lesson. But if you have any question during the week, you can still put it on the platform and those questions will be answered. But one day is going to be brought for extensive coaching lessons. There's already about 20 topics that she's developed already, but there's more topics to come. More of these things that we discussed here are things that we're going to be, you know, reviewing